Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
In a season dominated by chaos, the title fight remains as open as it's ever been as the field turns to the mecca of motorsports with a centuries-old tale of realized dreams and racing immortality for the first test of several on the ovals. Welcome to Speedway, Indiana, where we welcome you to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the third round of the 2026 INDYCAR Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series. Welcome to the action, whether you're watching on iRacing Esports Network or on INDYCAR's platforms, where alongside DJ Clark, I am Kenneth Bueno. Our good friend Arjuna Kankipati will be back next week. He's at hard work at Daytona this weekend for the 24th. DJ, we've had two different winners this season. Luke McEwen got the win dominantly at Long Beach. Jaden Munoz struck gold for his first career dub at Portland last week. But this championship continues to be anyone's fight heading into the first oval real test for a bulk of this field.
Yeah, I mean, how perfect is this? You're coming to the unpredictable nature of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and an oval itself, and you've got a championship blown wide open. This is a track, though, that everybody wants to win at. Whether you're talking about the virtual or the real world, this is the one they want to check off the column, because this is what separates you from a driver and immortality.
Put it plain simply, the way Arjuna said it last season in the Open, this just means more. When you win here at Indianapolis, it doesn't matter in what scale you do it. It is always so special. And jumping into this INDYCAR Pro Series, we've had so many storylines to tell, including last week, the City of Roses, Portland International Raceway, hosting the second round. And already, DJ, it was all about the chaos in that narrow Shelton chicane, turns 1 and 2. But the real story happened up in front. Alex Spetz capturing his first pole as a rookie. Chaos and contact entering turn 10 sent him and several other drivers out of the race. There's turn 11, skipping through the grass, opened the door wide open for the World Sim Racing esports driver of Jaden Munoz, who was able to slip away.
Yeah, it was shades of Christian Rasmussen and Connor Daly in real life last year. This kind of contact coming down into the last couple of corners, and you see the damage there on your screen, which just opened up the door. More chaos coming down into turn 1, as is often the case at Portland. This was a race that kept us guessing to the very end.
It's almost funny to see the way these races have turned from flat-out duels at the front to just straight-up surviving to get to the checkered flag first. We've seen so many drivers get into problems. They've always found a way to rebound, and it's Jaden Munoz who kept himself perfect at the front, dialing up his first ever INDYCAR Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series victory. Great battles behind Team Redline, several others. Gustavo Ariel using push to pass to play defense. But of course, all the spotlight on Munoz. Smiles across the start-finish line. His first win comes at Portland International Raceway, and it vaults him up the standings in a way that he's definitely looking forward to as the field takes on Indianapolis tonight. So look at the point standings, the way they shake out after that second race, and the big topic of it all, DJ Michael Romanidis for Drago Racing. He's picked up 2 top 10s in the first 2 races, only one of 3 drivers to do that. That tells you how difficult it's been to find a good finish at the end. It's only 3 points between himself and Michael Romanidis, with the top 5 separated by just 16. So everyone's pretty much in it.
Everybody's pretty much in it. And back to your point about Romanidis, as you said, the difference between a good season and a championship season is often maximizing on your worst day. And if Romanidis is able to keep on this form, this could be a championship caliber run for him. But we've got to look a little bit farther down in the order. The names like Philip Kraus and Adam Blocker, these sort of oval experts that we've come to expect to dominate on these circle tracks. This is where they're going to shine and really break up the order tonight.
Last season, the ovals are where those teams really struck out, where Philip Kraus was able to put himself in the championship fight. And here we are, less in schedule, 8 races instead of 10, but it's Indianapolis tonight that'll play such a big role. And you, the fans, have decided we're going to go to Mid-Ohio for the penultimate race of this 2026 season. We're going to go for 40 laps up in Mid-Ohio. So, DJ, that's going to be a ton of fun. And seeing the other 2 ovals on there, Phoenix and Nashville together, it'll be a good complex for those oval teams to do really well. But Indianapolis Motor Speedway, DJ, as a Hoosier yourself, you know this track very well.
Yes, I do. I spend my maze here every year. 2.5 miles, a capacity of nearly 350 to 400,000 fans, depending on how you ask about it. Wind plays a big, big difference here when you're coming down the front straightaway and the back straightaway. Saving fuel, going to be huge around here. 5/8 of a mile straightaway, only an 1/8 of a mile short shoot. Banking at 9.2 degrees. You don't think it's that much until you're in the car itself. This, of course, opened back in 1909. The first 500 held in 1911.
You never see a track quite as big as this on the IndyCar schedule. It's always Indianapolis. All the ovals very unique in their own right, but Indianapolis just always means more. It's the second ever IndyCar Pro Series pole for Michele Costantini, the Italian for Team VRS. Lines it up on the front row. He's got Robert Malechka for Team Hype with Power Slide looking to go back-to-back here at the Brickyard. Won this race last season, has also won fair share of iRacing Indy 500 as well. Philip Kraus for Team Hype with Power Slide is one of the winners here at Indianapolis in the official sessions. He's going to look to grab his first win of the 2026 season with Team Redline's Cooper Webster. Missed out on Long Beach, recovered back for Portland. He's on the outside in row number 2 for 4th place. Team Hype with Power Slide has Jacob Oster in the 16 on the inside of row 3. Did a pretty good job here last season around. And Danny Amore for the Coanda Esports Camp, the number 49, lines it up in P6.
Alexander Russell going to be starting to the inside of row 4 with Alex Van de Sande on his outside. Luke McEwen, your championship points leader, will be rolling off to the inside of row 5. And the winner from last time out, Jaden Munoz, is going to be to his outside. Team Redline's got Eduardo Leo starting off in row 6 alongside Esteban Rodriguez in a very, very packed row.
And behind them, the Williams F1 Team Gaming Club, Mateo Quenzer, the rookie, on the inside of row 7. Red Lions, Josh Thompson on the outside in 14th. Coanda Esports has Elliot Veyron picked up his best career IndyCar Pro Series finish here last season. He'll be on the inside in row 8 with Pablo Espes, the Spaniard, for the other Williams F1 Team Gaming car on the outside. Vasilis Belitsiotis for the Blue Mercury Esports team in the 7, inside of row 9, and 18th, Alessandro Bico, very experienced in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. He'll be outside of row 9.
In 19th, it's a driver who's very familiar with ovals. That is Kwame Scott. We're going to be interested to see what he's able to do today. And Adam Blocker, the real-life Indy Next engineer, starts to his outside in P20. Diogo Pinto, 21st, alongside Sota Muto for Williams F1 Gaming. Gustavo Ariel and Florian Lebert round out row 12.
Interesting to see the Frenchman and the defending champion pretty far back. A lot of work to do when we get the green flag. Sam Quaitert in 25th. Nicolas Mateo, the rookie driver for Drago Racing, on the outside in 26th place. Peter Berryman for Drago Racing is in the inside of row 14. Alex Spetz picked up the pole last week at Portland, crashed out of the race, but he'll try to get back here from 28th. Michael Romanidis, deep start for the Drago Racing number 53. And Tamás Simon, the Hungarian for Szeza Esports, the University Group, on the outside. Final three, David Toth, Balint Pala, and Ricardo Rico. Two of those three, the Szeza Esports machines, 41-15, and Ricardo Rico at the back end in 33rd place. Same amount of cars, DJ, that we always have here at Indianapolis, and it is a beautiful day in sim to go racing. Track temp creeping up high, over 100. We had it creeping around 90 degrees during the practice and qualifying sessions. Going to be a pretty hot track temperature tonight in the race.
Yeah, it certainly will be. 66 laps, full course cautions obviously enabled, and single file restarts here. What's going to be crucial, though, is that pit window. 30 to 34 laps if you're running normally. If you're on an Alexander Rossi's type strategy, you're going to be looking at 36 to 37 laps. And this is a very, very long pit lane here, Kenneth. 60 miles an hour, and it is a long descent down there. Probably only one time down in pit lane, unless we get a late race restart where you're going to want to swap out tires.
Many a time we've seen this race come down to strategy, how good you are on pit lane, and like you said, DJ, how much you're saving fuel. All the teams together working forward to that very same goal, making it to the checkered flag and trying to get that first ever or second win here in this Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series. Michele Costantini, last time he was on the pole, he won. It was at Milwaukee last season. Robert Malechka, the Indy King, trying to take the crown away once again. Green flag racing. We are underway for round 3 from Indianapolis, and a wonderful start from Costantini to turn 1.
Little bit of 3 wide, farther back in the field. Gaybek get themselves sorted out as it looks like the whole field able to go through the short chute cleanly. Costantini, though, doing what we suspected he wants to do, lead this race.
And already a fight from the inside. Not a surprise to see the power slide teammates trying to work together. Malechka on the inside takes the lead. Philip Kraus looking for third. Jacob Olsen will give him the fight from the high side. And oh, so many times we've seen teams really work together at tracks like Indianapolis, up to saving fuel, and of course just trying to keep as many cars up there at the front. Inside, Dan Amore, the Coanda Esports car, split 3 wide. Here comes Webster to the inside. That's a look for the top 10.
And these drivers from about second on back need to start to sort themselves out. If Costantini and Malechka start to play nice together like they are, they have a potential to slip off into the distance. But you've got to love what you're seeing here. If your team height, Malechka, Kraus, Oster, right there, 2, 3, 4, and Costantini in that alliance with them here this weekend, this is mega for this team.
And for Malechka, he's coming off a fantastic set of races here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, DJ, over the last year and a half. The Michigan driver has won the 2024 Indy 500 on the open side of things. He picked up the win in the Hoosier 500, very high-esteemed Indianapolis 500-mile race on iRacing back in December. So Malechka knows a thing or two about not only being quick here in Indianapolis, but the right recipe you have to cook up together in order to get the win. He currently stays behind Costantini. They've been kind of side drafting each other for a little bit. Everyone's single file back to turn 3, and there's a car sideways and into the garage. That's Adam Blocker, famous driver for running in these Indy 500 races on iRacing, DJ, and tough to see a competitor like that out so early.
He was my dark horse pick for the winner of this race. I don't know what happened to Adam there, but absolute heartbreak down to the inside grass. And as you said earlier, for Malechka, if you get into a rhythm here at Indianapolis, if you learn what it is, you can make incredible things happen.
So we got a second look. What happened with Adam Blocker? This is entering turn 1. He was fighting 19th on the racetrack when this incident happened in the first corner. And a little bit bizarre to see him in the draft right behind Josh Thompson, the Team Redline car, and it just straight lines into the safer barrier out in turn 1. Have to imagine, DJ, that might have just been a hardware gremlin for Adam Blocker.
I thought the exact same thing, especially this early on in the race. You're not going to be dealing with too much marble buildup on the outside. That's a very, very strange incident, and I'm pretty sure we're going to hear that that was a hardware gremlin from Blocker.
You know, we talk about the equivalence of mechanical issues in real life, whether an engine goes away, suspension breaks, you know, wings go away, handling goes away, and all the cooling temperatures. Is there anything that really could go wrong mechanically on a race car? On iRacing, that doesn't happen. These cars are perfect as they can be. You can't blow the engine, but for the most part, it's internet connection, hardware issues, screen issues, all of that could play a role in destroying your race very quickly. For Adam Blocker, unfortunately, it's the early end. The race engineer for Chip Ganassi Racing on the Indy NXT side of things, so gonna have a very busy 2026 getting that team prepped up. Here comes Costantini back to the inside, and we saw this a lot last season, DJ. Ton of the leaders just going around each other and flipping positions over and over again. What's the method behind that in order to extend the range for the rest of a green run?
Well, what it basically is if you are the lead car here at any oval for the most part, but especially at Indianapolis, as we watch here Webster trying to work on the back of Russell, you're breaking the air. So you are going at such astronomical speeds that you are physically pushing that air and braking it on the way through. And so you're actually going a little bit slower. In response to that, the driver behind is able to lift off the throttle a little bit more and save fuel because you're able to tuck up behind in that draft. Think of a boat wake. And that's really what it is that you are traveling right behind in that boat wake, so the driver behind is able to save some fuel and lift off that throttle. You change back and forth a little bit like that, you're giving each enough time to be able to break that air and to follow behind. It saves fuel, and it's something you see every May and every time we go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on iRacing.
Great look here from Dan Amor running 7th, that Coanda Esports machine running behind the Team Redline car of Cooper Webster and JD Munoz, Luke McEwen, two drivers who were going at it for the lead at Portland last week. Munoz able to escape the chaos. McEwen sort of a victim in that sense, running inside the top 10. Think of the way Team Hype and Power Slide have dominated this virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're always in contention when you talk about iRacing Indy 500s, fixed or open, but they really like to shine their hat on the oval, open side of things, given how much they are experienced in putting these setups together. 4 of the top 5 running cars, all part of that same team, Team Hype and Power Slide, tailed by Alexander Russell running 5th. And there's Phil Kraus, driver who won this race this year in the iRacing Indy 500 Open by just a hair at the start-finish line at the Brick. And Philip Kraus running inside the top 3.
Yeah, and doing an incredible job here, just keeping up behind. He's really in the catbird seat, I have to say. But look at what we're seeing from behind from Oscar and from Russell. Russell's really running what we could call the Castro-Neves line. Elio Castro-Neves is renowned for running a few grooves up off of that white stripe down to the inside. Oscar's start to drift up there a little bit more as well. Now, there's some drivers that'll tell you it's not as fast. Elio's 4 championship rings will tell you differently. But what they're doing here is they're getting a little bit of clean air on the front of those wings. When you run in the draft like that through the corners, you get that dirty air. It's not pushing down on the car the way it's supposed to. And so you're able to get that right side of the car to turn a little bit more to the way you want it to.
And also the weight jacker, the hydraulic ram in the race car, plays a pivotal role in the way the car is handling. And you spend all time setting up for a race like this, but you can use that weight jacker in the middle of the campaign in the race, so you can figure out what feels the best for the race car. Front weight on the rear or on the front of the race car matters a lot as Robert Malechka takes back the race lead. Top 2 have been swapping positions over the first 10 here from Speedway, Indiana. And again for Philip Kraus, coming off of a pretty poor ending to his Portland International race, ended up 33rd after qualifying 20th. And Arjuna and I, DJ, had the conversation of if he can minimize the negatives on the road courses, find a way to plant himself in the top 10 and have good finish after good finish, plus all of his stellar overall experience. He was a championship contender last season. He could very well be the same and maybe win the title here in 2026. As the onboard look from Jacob Oster shows the trail behind all of that draft, these cars staying single file, no chance of moving for now.
No, he's just holding in line here and saving as much fuel as possible. This is going to set him up longer in the race. But to go back to your point about that oval expertise, I've got to agree with you for the likes of Kraus. If he's able to nail this down, this is going to be a very impressive run for him. And goes back to what I said at the beginning of the race. You minimize your worst days, that's the sign of a champion. Good battle here farther back in the field.
And speaking of minimizing bad days, Luke McEwen had to minimize a bad day last week at Portland. Was one of those top competitors at the front. Got wing damage after the chaos exiting turn 10. Found a way to sort of fight back into it and keep his heart in the fight. And finishing 28th here last season after starting in the top 5 and ended up in a wreck. McEwen hoping that these ovals can be kind to him in 2026 as he remains in the points lead. Remember that 3-point spread back to Jaden Munoz, or Michael Romanidis rather, in second place, just 3 points behind. And where Romanidis sits right now, a little bit odd for the driver who performed in the top 10 here last season, running in 31st. And speaking of comeback routes, how about the Italian Edoardo Leo, the young driver winning here in Indianapolis last season, DJ on the road course. We touted him as a championship contender. Things sort of tapered off at the tail end of 2024. However, getting the penalty after Long Beach and having to recover from dead last in that race to come away with a top 10, top 15 run. It was stellar to see Leo just move his way up to the field and survive, running well right now in the top 15.
Yeah, it was a very impressive run for Leo. I was very happy to see it, honestly. To be able to see that driver kind of charge through the field, it makes things exciting for fans to be able to see. A lot of back and forth here, farther back in the field. And we're only on lap 14 of 66. You're going to see this a lot. Ooh, Team Redline getting a little bit close up to the wall there. As you're going to see this a lot as things play out. Make moves early on when that Firestone rubber is fresh. That's when you're going to want to make the attack. As you get farther and farther into a stint, you're not going to be able to be as aggressive with the car, and you're going to lose grip outside.
Just a quick reminder that the Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series is brought to you by the Thrustmaster and the T598 steering wheel. Feel racing sensations like never before with T598 and its direct axial drive motor, the new generation of direct drive. This motor allows for perfect clear wheel rim motion with no cogging for high fidelity force feedback. Scan the QR code on the bottom right of your screen to learn more. Thrustmaster, drive into a new era of sim racing. Can't imagine the mental acuity for the drivers in this moment, DJ, is just as high as it's ever been. You're running 235 plus miles an hour in the draft going into these corners where you have to slow down. A lot of these drivers with their direct drive setups, some of them Europeans racing at 2-3 in the morning, having to lock in for these races. It's physically demanding, even with the 1/3 of a 500-mile distance we have tonight.
Certainly is. Sotomuto here. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing from the Japanese driver. Low lines down into 1 and 2, changed it up to go to the outside. That tells me that this is a driver that is experimenting, that feels good with their car and is playing around, trying to find the ideal line that's going to carry them on forward. Running a little bit farther back in the order, obviously, in about 24th position, but I like what I'm seeing there out of Muto.
He's coming off his career best finish, 3rd place in the City of Roses at Portland last week. So the Williams F1 Team Gaming Club car, number 68 of Sotomuto, the Japanese driver, looking to cut his way through the top 25. A ton of these drivers just hanging back in the moment, but that seems to be the proposed idea. DJ, stay in line, wait for the traffic to come up, but pit road, especially under green, seems to get very treacherous here in Indianapolis. What's going to be the biggest challenge for all these drivers as they end up coming in, hopefully within the next few laps as we approach halfway?
Well, it's going to be a couple of things for these drivers. Number one, you're going to have to play with that brake bias adjustment. Figure out where you want to be. When you're in Indianapolis, you're not touching the brake hardly at all over the course of a run. And if you are touching the brake, you're having bigger problems. So you've got to make sure you get it and you lock in. You've got to make sure that a lot of times when you run on an oval like this, there's actually a steering offset in order to be able to make the car turn a little bit easier and reduce wear on the hands. So you've got to make sure that you think in your brain about what that offset is. Straighten the wheel to where the tires are pointed straight and you don't run the risk of a lockup. I'm not going to be surprised, even though we're dealing with the best of the best here on iRacing, if we maybe pick up a pit lane speeding penalty or two, or if we see a driver spin a little bit, maybe locking those rear tires. Again, it is very, very difficult.
Watch Muto here running the very high side. I think he's the only one experimenting with this second groove here in Indianapolis. We mentioned how dirty air plays a big role in the middle of the draft. Well, look for the clean air at the top end of the speedway. It's a little bit harder to do when you have a little under 10 degrees of banking in the corners. However, Muto is doing his best, still fighting hard in the top 24 as the run for the race lead has changed hands. Malechka and Costantini have given way for the duo at the front. Jacob Oster, Philip Kraus, DJ, now taking command at 19 laps in.
Yeah, and this is all team strategy here up front. You've had these two drivers leading this entire race in the form of Malechka and Costantini. Now you see Oster and Kraus take over. This is all coordinated effort. This is, frankly, the dream of what a four-car entry like Andretti Global or an AJ Foyt Racing in years past would love to be able to do. Running four cars up like this, now Malechka and Costantini are going to be able to hold back. They're going to be able to save that fuel, and Oster and Kraus are able to push ahead and break that air in front of them.
The Italian Costantini for Team VRS looks like working well with the Team Hype and Powerslide group right now. And although Alex Russell is in his own team, technically on the registration, he is part of Powerslide Motorsports. Team Hype and Powerslide with that technical alliance here for the 2026 season. Almost in an effort to try and topple the Goliath, DJ. That's Team Redline, always on the road courses, won the championship last season with Jogo Pinto. So looking to try and topple him and the rest of that Team Redline group as they continue to run in the middle of this top five. There's your winner from last week, Jaden Munoz, who made his switch officially from last week after the Williams F1 Team Club and moved his way to World Sim Racing Esports and gave them their first win in this series at Portland. Told us just how special it was, and using that experience right now to carry his weight through Indianapolis in the middle of the top 10. There's a look on board with Munoz as he carries his way through 3 and 4. Big note here, lots of that gap, 0.2 of a second to Elliot Veyron as he has another pack of cars that's slowly building behind him. Although behind this top 10, everyone's starting to dwindle just a little bit on time.
And there you can hear on that onboard from Munoz the lift that you have coming into turn 1. That's a pretty substantial lift, especially compared to what you think about when you're qualifying and you are absolutely flat out around the circuit. Let's listen again, see what he does into 3 here. Not nearly as substantial, but he is lifting a lot. Now, not only is that going to save fuel for him, but that's going to save the tires. You've got to remember here that this is a 30-lap run, 30-plus lap run. Those tires are going to wear, and the less grip you've got on them, the more likely you're going to slide up the track.
We've had that conversation point throughout the first 2 races this season of tire compounds. Well, here in the ovals, especially here at Indianapolis, you've only got those branded Indy 500 Firestone Firehawks, and you can change tires as many times as you'd like, but no tire compounds need to be switched. You just have the oval compound you run with versus the road courses and the street courses in which you have to use at least one, or actually both of those tire compounds throughout the race. Make one pit stop to make that switch. So it's Jacob Oster at the front taking some share of the glory here at Speedway, Indiana. Philip Kraus looking to get on the inside. This coordinated chaos, DJ, at around 230 miles an hour. I think that's the way I like to call it, even though it looks calm at the front of the field right now. But Phil Kraus doing all that he can to keep himself in contention. Another look on board, you get a real good look at the 9.2 degrees of banking, DJ. It's not a lot, but at 230 miles an hour, it helps you get around.
And I'll tell you what, when you are standing on the inside of turn 1, it doesn't feel like 9 degrees. It feels like a lot more. There you can see with that sort of gyro cam, the way it tilts over like that, it's just enough to be able to help the car through the corner and keep you relatively flat out. And it's very, very flat compared to some of the other circuits we're going to go to, specifically looking at Nashville Superspeedway, or obviously where our eyes are focused this weekend over at Daytona where Arjuna is. Very flat compared to that, but it's still pretty big.
Elliot Veyron running in the top 10. And if you want to have this view in the iRacing Pro Series for Thrustmaster and INDYCAR, you can learn to start your sim racing career today. You can expand in multiple different types of motorsport, whether it's NASCAR, INDYCAR, IMSA, and everything in between. Hop on to iRacing.com today. Only takes one log on, one membership sign up, and you can be here alongside the 33 that are taking part in this Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series for 2026. And a back look at Veyron, the Frenchman for Team Coena, got his best finish here in Indianapolis last season, finished 3rd alongside former teammate Michael Hromadidis, both of them having some of their best efforts here in Indianapolis. Let's look at the move from the outside. Alex Van der Sande, the 97, sailing up high Remember the Sotamuto line we were looking at earlier tonight, DJ? It's starting to come into effect. Cooper Webster getting swallowed in the middle of the back half of this top group.
That is a very, very gutsy move there from Van de Sant, and very impressive to be able to pull that off on the likes of Cooper Webster nonetheless. My question here is going to be how much is he going to be able to move through the field following that run? Takes a little bit of a look down to the inside, maybe just seeing if he can force it more down to the inside, maybe block a little bit more. I like what I'm seeing here out of Van de Sant. This is a very methodical, very thought-out drive for him, for the Chicago, Illinois driver, trying to figure out where the weaknesses here are in that number 49 machine. He's got a good run down the back straightaway. Going to back out of it, not push his luck. I like this.
And remember, Dan Amor, the car in front of Van de Sant, is about half a second to 6/10 back of the rest of the top 5. This power slide coalition that continues to command the field up at the front. They're parting the seas in the air, but those other two drivers, in Dan Amor and Van de Sant, you can use the technical term of rookie in this 2026 season, but no stranger to this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Competed in the Lionheart IndyCar Series on iRacing. Very long tenured and very popular iRacing IndyCar group. And also finished 4th here in the iRacing Indy 500 fixed setup race in 2025. Remember that 66 lap distance, 1/3 of the 500-mile distance we usually have for the Indianapolis 500-mile race? Well, we're just about halfway, 5 laps from it, DJ, so almost appears that this coalition at the front attempting to manage that halfway point to get to the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see the majority of this field probably dive down around lap 33. If I'm sitting on the strategy booth, that's what I'm going to call out here. And I would not be surprised if we frankly see a NASCAR-style pit from this leading group, that they all come down en masse together, so they're able to keep that draft working together as they come back out of pit lane. You got the back here of Van de Sant. You can see he's been able to get around Amor, and now he's going to move his way forward. He's got a little bit to try to catch up to Russell, but that just means he's going to be able to go flat out here and not have to lift and worry about the car in front of him. I think Van de Sant's going to catch right up.
That's going to make 5 of the top 6 members of those Team Hype with Power Slide members here in this 2026 season. Van de Sant hoping forward he can catch up to Alex Russell. That gap, though, at about 0.6 of a second. And when you talk about the NASCAR-style pit road, imagine the Superspeedways, Daytona, Talladega, when you're up in this huge pack of cars, and then the biggest emphasis is you can't speed on pit road. And look how much this teamwork has affected the point standings. You say teamwork makes the dream work. It's making the dream work right now at the front with Luke McEwen and company not entirely at the front. It's allowed Phil Kraus to stay within a 10-point swing of Luke McEwen and Jaden Munoz right in the middle for second. So right where he wants to be, the sweet spot, DJ, of the championship starts right here for Phil Kraus.
Yeah, this is perfect for Kraus to be able to bring his way back up in there. And then, as you said, we had some Mugello, and then it's another 2-oval run in the form of Phoenix and Nashville. It's very interesting to see, I think, also what happens in terms of these teammates working together at the end of the race. My sneaking suspicion is we're going to have a Roger Penske rule, which is you work together until the last 5 laps. Then it's no holds barred.
Give it all, just don't crash. That's the biggest point of it, especially for Phil Kraus. Do not crash. Any point in this race, you got a chance at the championship. Good battle here for the 9th spot. Cooper Webster, one of those Team Redline machines, still holding out strong, but he is the only current running Team Redline car in this top 10. So it just shows you where Team Redline has been so far tonight. Not that they've been out of it completely, because behind Cooper Webster, you've got Luke McEwen back in 11th. Eduardo Leo runs in 12th. Alessandro Bico for Williams is right in front of Jogo Pinto, another Team Redline car with Josh Thompson and Gustavo Ariel all the way back to 18th place. So it's not like they're out of it completely. They just haven't been as dominant as all these cars at the front. And right about now, we should enter that pit road window. This is the exact halfway marker of tonight's race from Indianapolis. And it appears no one is going in. They feel they can stay out just a little bit longer. But curious to see, DJ, if anybody elects to go in much earlier than the rest, just to try and be on an alternative strategy, knowing how clean this race has gone so far.
That's my call. If I'm maybe sitting in the Team Redline camp, I'd be thinking about it, or particularly if I'm down around from about 20th on back, Rodriguez, Coiter, Muto, I'm thinking about coming in on that alternate strategy, play things out a little bit, see if I can get a yellow to fall near the end of the race my way. I think if you're up leading this race, you push it as long as possible.
Well, here they go. Two of the Koanda Esports members going at it side by side in the middle of this group. And here comes pit road. They are all coming in hard on the brakes, trying to get to pit road speed limit. The top four enter in. Alex Russell will extend his stay past another lap. Same with Van de Sant and Veyron, Amor, Cooper, Webster. Top five as they come in and out of pit road. The rest of the Power Slide and Team High group alongside Costantini are going to try and get as much momentum as they can. But a split will give Alexander Russell, Coke Series driver in 2025 and rookie here in this Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series, the lead here with 32 to go next time.
And part of the reason that they had to come in early was the fact that they were leading, breaking that air, using a little bit more fuel. Wouldn't be surprised if the likes of Russell and Van de Sant, who remember were back in this mire for the majority of the race, they're going to be able to stay. Looks like we've got a couple more coming down to the pit lane, though.
Dan Amor, Luke McEwen, Cooper Webster, two of those. The Team Red Line cars, you see the red and the blue colors that distinguish them so much. And kind of a spotter's nightmare, if you will, for those trying to keep track of all those red line cars. They dominated, did a lot during the iRacing Daytona 24 earlier this past weekend. Ton of them at the front, Eduardo Leo and a couple of others, including Luke McEwen in a GTP class together and running in the top five in a GTP that was ultimately won by Drago Racing, ending up at the front. So here's where Russell and Van de Sant come out of turn four. They'll enter pit road. Elliot Veyron will pit from third. Remember, he had a top five here last season. Jaden Munoz is in, and Veyron nearly cooks it on, and a car just did right in front of them.
Oh my goodness, and that's the fear that you have when you come down into pit lane. That little bit of a wiggle, that may just seem like a little bit when you're watching it on the outside, but let me tell you, when you are in the car coming in at 100 miles an hour, that is one of the most terrifying things you can ever experience. Biko, though, up in the lead of the race. Great run for him, Muto behind him, and then you see the rest of the field starting to cycle their way back through.
Look at where everyone's cycling out as Russell ends up out in third. Muto and Biko still yet to pit. Here comes Biko from the race lead. The Williams F1 Gaming Club car, and a car sideways right in front of him. That is Dan Amor. A secondary trip down pit road for Amor, and it's wing damage at the front. Could there be a speeding penalty as well?
That's going from bad to worse for Amor, and if he's coming back down again, I've got to think that he picked up a penalty a little bit earlier. Now, this is back to your regularly scheduled programming up in the front here. Oster, Kraus, Malechka, Costantini, all of them back up in the lead after pitting on lap 34.
Can confirm Dan Amor a black flag penalty as he was coming out for his first pit stop. He is in to serve now. So Dan Amor, one of the Koanda Esports cars, alongside Veyron, just puncturing themselves in the top 10. All of a sudden, they may be out, and that is a killer when this race has gone green as much as it had. Again, we mentioned the difference of road courses in the ovals. You have stoppages here. If a car goes around and ends up in a crash, you will slow down. The pace car will come out, and it'll create a different sense of rhythm for the field. But on the road courses, all you have to deal with is staying mistake-free, and you could be up at the front with a strategy good enough to win. However, for Amor, race may be over. We'll take another look at it. Could that have been pit road speeding on the entry? We saw a lot of cars go sideways, just coming from 200-ish miles an hour. You got to go all the way on the brakes, and the line comes up way after the wall. Oh, and Amor just slipped up and went sideways. His second entry of pit road going awry.
Yeah, and I mean, that shades of, I believe it was Marcus Ericsson from a couple of years ago that had a very similar problem. Obviously, famously, there have been some very nasty crashes coming down into pit lane. That pit lane attenuator, really the one spot on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where you can say, maybe not the safest, but IMS has done what they can, and thankfully there, he is in good stead. But back up to this battle in the front. Look at this. We've got a little bit of 2-3 wide as they get through some lap traffic. That's going to be what breaks up this leading crew, is if lap traffic gets in the way of what we see up at the front.
And most importantly, Elliot Veyron, the Koanda Esports number 9 machine, has put himself in the middle of this power slide and team hype top 5. So he's got a chance. He's going to sling to the inside. Alex Russell takes it for himself. He'll grab the lead from Indianapolis. Veyron follows suit. And it's Philip Kraus, Jacob Oster that stay right behind, as there's the second pack, led by Jaden Munoz, running outside turn 4, just aiming to stay in the draft.
And crucially here, Munoz was at about 1.2 seconds behind, which I would say is out of really catchable draft range. You technically, when you talk about qualifying and practice here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 7 to 8 seconds is considered no tow, which means you feel no effect from the draft. But if you're about 1.2 seconds behind, you're not going to be able to close in with the rapidity that you think you would. But what Munoz has got working for him is that lap traffic. He's going to be able to leapfrog his way forward and maybe hold on to the back of this group, and that could pay huge dividends.
He mentioned the experience at Indianapolis and how much that'll play a role in a race like this. You think of Michele Costantini, who did well in the ovals, especially at the back half, in a storyline where his season went sour to begin. He was one of those touted as a championship favorite, and then just had crash after crash and bad luck situation after another. Kind of put him out of the points for a little while, and then started picking up top 10s, and last time he picked up a pole was at Milwaukee. Ended up sealing the win at the end in an emotional victory for the Italian as he rides in the middle of this top 10, looking to have the patient eye with 26 laps to go as Alexander Russell has taken over the lead. Alex Van de Sande behind the tail of the Alexes, as Elliott Veyron tallies right behind, took the lead momentarily. Here comes Van de Sande to the inside in turn 1.
And Van de Sande able to make it play. In terms of Costantini, I would have to say here, as long as he is up in the top 10, he is a threat. This is a driver that is absolutely brilliant on this Dallara IR18 model. In fact, when I was first starting out and racing on the sim, I would listen to him constantly talking about setup and how to approach the corners. He is a master at how to handle one of these cars. As we've got a yellow.
And there's a car out around on the back straightaway. It's Kwame Scott. Kwame Scott will bring out the yellow with 25 laps to go. And it's the oval ace of Kwame Scott. Competed in the Coke Series this past season. Won the Indy NXT qualifying race at Gateway. And he's not the only one, DJ, that's involved in this. It started much up the road. Sam Kreutzer getting into Sotamoto, and the Japanese's day is going to come to an end in a heartbreaking fashion at the exit of 2. And Kwame Scott, with nowhere to go, will bring us our first stoppage of the race inside crunch time.
Yeah, and the exit of 2 is an area where we see a lot of incidents, especially when the temperature starts to rise at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You get a little bit of that cross breeze that comes on the back straightaway, and it's easy to take it out. But kind of here is the replay as we see 2 wide coming through the corner and just drifts up right into the side, and that's all she wrote.
I mentioned that dirty air, how the handling can go away from the right front of the race car in the middle of that turbulent wake behind some of the Team Redline group drivers. Sotamoto getting a tap on the outside at turn 2. Almost got a clip around Esteban Rodriguez, the New York native, and then Kwame Scott, who was attempting to get out of it, got a shot as well from Dan Amor. So Amor's race just continues to sour through, the nose cone coming off. And for Kwame Scott, hoping that this would be a bright spot on the ovals for Nexus Esports after a top 10 effort at Long Beach to open the season alongside Russell. And now it's opposite. Scott out of the race, Alex Russell in the lead. And with all of that, DJ, no one looks to make the offshore excursion to pit road, at least within the top 10. Esteban Rodriguez and David Toth, Thomas Simone, it looks like will stay out. A couple other drivers come in right behind Rodriguez. And here's the second look at the incident to bring out the yellow. This is a look from behind Kwame Scott. That's Dan Amor.
There's the contact in front, and you see it. Oh, and Amor just got into the rear end there of Kwame, and that absolutely sent him around. And that's an issue that we see quite often here. You're traveling at 220, 230 miles an hour coming through these corners. Into race pace, probably more about 215 at the exit of that corner. But the human body cannot react in time to that kind of thing taking place. And so you try to jump on the brakes, but again, braking not set up for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You've got to be soft on the brakes so as to not lock your rear axle. Just a multitude of things that can go wrong there, and unfortunately, that's what caught out Kwame.
Well, as this series continues, we have our third round here at Indianapolis. So much of this Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series to go, and if you want to be one of those 33 to compete next season, you can log on to iracing.com/INDYCAR-esports if you want to learn so much more about what the series is going through right now, who's at the top of the standings, who's winning races, where we're headed next, and so much more. So it's Russell, Van de Sant, Veyron Kraus, and Jacob Oster, the top 5. We mentioned the team hype and power slide dominance tonight. Elliott Veyron really being the spearheading effort for everyone else representing the rest of the group, just trying to break up the dominant effort. And Alex Russell trying to be one of those drivers to get his first win of the season. Of course, all eyes on the cash prize to the end. It's dollar bills, y'all. 50 grand for the 2026 season.
Yeah, 50 grand separated out, $20,000 up for the first place prize, and then working its way progressively on backwards. A massive payout, and we are so thankful to be able to bring this. It just goes to show you what is on the line for these drivers and just the stress that this can be inducing. I mean, this is big time money.
Some drivers coming off of pit road. Florian Lebigre, championship contender last season, ended up in the top 5 there. The Frenchman trying to become one of those top drivers at the end of it. But for Lebigre, he's going to be in the middle of the top 20 as we continue on in this race. And look at the T598. Beautiful new wheel for Thrustmaster. Proud sponsor of our Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series. Want to learn more about that? You can scan the QR code at the bottom right of your screen. I may need to try and invest in a new wheel, because I've heard the hype about direct drive, DJ, and I've heard it all. I think I might end up on the bandwagon.
I got to tell you, I made the switch over about a year and a half ago, and it is revolutionary. It is life-changing. It is a workout. I literally get out of the sim, and I am sweating. I feel like I've actually run a full race. It's great.
You know, if I simulated a race at Long Beach with a wheel like that, I think my arms would be gone. That's why these drivers are so good. They stand the test of time. Even with these shorter races, they handle the excruciatingly tough schedule, all the tracks, and especially for moments like these. 21 laps to go, single file restart in these IR18s. Remember, we do not have green-white checkers to extend this race. If we get a caution late enough, this race will end under yellow. And it's a fantastic restart by the rookie. Russell gets out first. Van de Sant has to play defense on Veyron, and no one looks to the inside yet for turn 1.
I'm a little bit surprised by that. I would have expected a little bit more aggression farther in the front order of the field. A little bit of a wide run there for Van de Sant, but it plays out for him. He's going to make a play for the lead of the race.
No help from Veyron. Stays back for third. Inside turn 3. Now a look from Veyron. He'll look for second. Underneath Russell, who shuts the door on the outside of turn 3. Behind him, Jacob Oster goes toe-to-toe. Robert Malechka tried to get his way in the top 5. Behind them, Michele Costantini in the middle of the draft. Down the straightaway. Inside again goes Van de Sant. He'll look for position. Russell to the lead in turn 1.
Oh, some cars going very high into turn 1. I don't necessarily like how that's playing, but look at this. Oster falling down through the field, and here comes the team red line charge as they come off into contact.
And a car up and over. It's Munoz, the winner from last week, on his side and up and over into the grass. Caution out with 20 laps to go. Ricardo Rico and several others at the back trying to get away from it. Eduardo Leo, who started dead last to finish 8th last week, is going to see this Indy race go sour, as Jaden Munoz, who came into this race in the top 5 in points, DJ, after the big-time win last Thursday, well, lots of points lost after the carnage off turn 2.
Very similar to the iRacing 500 rack from 2 years ago, but you've got a feel there if you are Munoz. He was a hapless passenger at that point. Red line down to the inside, drifted up the track. Munoz going very high, don't get me wrong. And taking a look at that again, I've got to say there may be a little bit of fault on either side. I thought that was farther up in the corner. They came off of the line there. I think Munoz may have actually made contact with the outside retaining wall, and that forced him to move down the track a little bit, because there was movement to driver's left from Munoz.
You know, from the first perspective, almost looked like the incident with Sotamuto earlier on tonight, where the car on the bottom just washes up the track in the banking. But you're right, Munoz did get a bobble from the outside wall, had to try and get out of it. And in the way was Eduardo Leo, who was looking to stay alongside and catch some of the draft from Jacob Oster. So another look here to see what happened between the Team Redline and World Sim Racing Esports car. There is the red, white, and black Munoz machine on the outside. right on the money, DJ. Outside wall tap, nothing that Eduardo Leo could do. They make contact, and it's a scary crash as he goes up and over into the grass.
Yeah, and if you are in the position there of Munoz, that is such a difficult spot to be in. You're on the outside lane. That's probably not an area where you've run a whole lot of practice, so there's going to be a little bit of a question mark as to how the car is going to handle coming around that outside lane. You're holding it in, you're hoping, and it's just that little tiny brush of the wall, but the impact of that, yet again, at these speeds. Now, he could have had a bent toe link there or something could have happened, but one way or the other, at the speed that he hit the wall, it just kind of throws him back over there a little bit, and there you saw the contact.
Almost looking a bit like last season's race, right? We're seeing a lot of these cautions come out late. That's where the desperation's starting to kick in. Drivers are getting a little more aggressive as they want to take that win. We mentioned Team Redline, their effort to move their way to the front. Now they're going to be missing Eduardo Leo, the young star. Cooper Webster from Australia, dealing with the extreme heat around this time of year, running in the top 10. Luke McEwen right behind him in 9th. And then you got to find the defending champion, Jogo Pinto, out in 11th, with some other drivers behind in the likes of Matteo Quenzer and Alessandro Bico, two of those Williams F1 team teammates right now in the middle of the group. So here's the schedule. This is where Indianapolis fits. Race 3, it was right halfway of the regular season. Last time out. But next week, we head to Italy. Mugello, we go off the shores of the United States. We go into European territory, and going to be a home race for several of those drivers in this series this season. But again, we talk about the gauntlet of what's next to come. Phoenix and Nashville, DJ, back-to-back for those oval drivers. They really have to execute. It's going to be right at the late portion of the season as well.
Yeah, and talk about two diametrically opposed circuits. Phoenix, relatively flat, a short track where you've got to be using the car and the brakes a little bit to rotate through the corners. Very, very difficult circuit to get right. And then Nashville, an odd intermediate oval, concrete surface, very abrasive. Tire wear, I think, is going to be a huge talking point in both of those races.
5 of the 8 races this season returning from 2024. Mugello, Portland, and Phoenix being the new ones, and they almost go back-to-back-to-back. We had Portland last week. We've got Mugello and Phoenix in the next 2, and the point standings just continue to remain as close as ever. The gain spots for Luke McEwen has stifled any of the amount of disadvantage he had earlier on in this race. That's where Philip Kraus and the rest of the Team Hype and Powerslide group drivers were able to make their money. Kraus now down to 4th, 19 back. Puts Romanidis in the middle for 3rd, 15 back, and it's Alexander Russell right in the front of this field with a chance to win. If he does, he can be 11 points or less outside of the championship lead. And how special would that be for Russell? In a similar mindset, DJ, to Kwame Scott, two of those oval drivers who have had lots of their experience come from NASCAR competition with stock cars. They've decided to embrace the challenge here with the IR18s, and they have really welcomed it with open arms. For Russell, he's going to be 16 laps away from his first win.
Yeah, carrying on in such great tradition as John Andretti and Tony Stewart being able to sort of do the double, as it were, do the virtual double. Love to see that there for them. But iRacing safety car getting ready to head down into pit lane. Russell going to lead us around to green here, KB.
Just a reminder, track temp has cooled down. It was 101 when we started. It is 98 as this race progresses. Much more grip out there for the drivers as the event continues. 16 laps to go at the Yard of Bricks. It's Russell out in front. Van de Sant to react behind, and again Russell stands off the rest of the competition. Veyron will have to head up to full song before making a move on the back straightaway. It's Russell in the lead outside turn 1.
He's got a nice little gap, but that's going to close quicker than you know. Single file like we saw on the last restart through the field. Here comes the run.
Van de Sant on the inside. He'll have the move. Veyron looks to follow. He'll stay in the track of Russell, and he doesn't make the move inside second. Philip Kraus right behind as well with Malechka to tow. How many of the teammates can get together before they start to make a run at it? 15 laps to go. Russell ahead and down the front straightaway. Here he comes. Van de Sant has to play defense. Russell back the inside.
And this is the part of the race where you start doing math backwards, KB. You start thinking a little bit about, okay, I want to position myself into the right spot when there is that white flag in the air? How can I get into second, maybe even third, when I see that white flag?
And if you're a guy like Philip Kraus, DJ, when is go time? When do you think it's the marker to start pushing the race car?
I think you still got a little bit of time to wait here. Hold on until about 7 laps to go, depending on what happens behind you. If you get a big push from behind and you've got drivers starting to work their way forward, that can change your calculus.
And look at the Williams teammates. Matteo Quinzer, the rookie. Alessandro Bico, the rookie. For Williams F1 team, they are starting to make their way forward inside the top 15. And could they spoil a bit of the team red line party starting to build up in the back half of the top 10? Cooper Webster holds on to 8th. Luke McEwen in 9th, right behind the Spaniard Pablo Espez. Running in the midst of this top 10, lots of oval experience with the IRO1s back in the day, 2021 and 2023. But he'll stay back, everyone single file at the exit of turn 4. It's Van de Sande up in the front, Alex Russell behind. Alex Russell makes the move. Veyron stays behind in third. Alex Russell back to the front. But again, it's that switchback maneuver we've seen all race long between the two teammates.
And crucially here at this point, I don't think fuel is going to be an issue for any of these drivers. We'd have 2 caution periods in the second stint, so this is not swapping around to be able to hit a fuel number. This is battling for the lead and working together to make sure you don't get overtaken from drivers from behind.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a maneuver to just keep up momentum instead of having the car behind slow up and then having the third place machine of Veyron just take full advantage, can take a 2-for-1 into the corner. So whatever maneuver that Russell and Van de Sande are occupying here inside the final 13, it's any amount of time and space they can occupy just to deny Veyron that little bit more. Remember, Veyron was up in contention for the win here. That late race yellows kind of dictated the end of the story for Veyron. That prevented him from getting his first win back in 2024. Does it change for the good here in 2026?
We're going to have to wait and see. We'll have about 11 and a half laps to figure it out. But another wrinkle thrown into it. We've got lap traffic in front. And how is that going to play out? And what is that fourth place car going to do? The number 19, Philip Kraus. That is the driver that I have got my eyes on.
You've got the past 2 iRacing Indy 500 winners sitting 4th and 5th. Kraus winning in 2025, Malechka did it in 2024, and they know where they need to be in these final 10. But so far, everyone's still single file, and the idea is if you're Team Hype and Power Slide, control the destiny. Do not let this race unravel from your fingertips. Once again, the change for the lead in turn 3. Van de Sande makes the move under, and look at the battles all the way behind. It continues around where Jacob Oster is, and several others in the top 15, including the red line cars. Here comes Ariel outside for 14th on the rookie Velociotis.
They're going to be side by side down the front straightaway. I like what I'm seeing here out of Oster. He's trying some new lines, taking a later apex into the corner. Looks like in front of him, Malechka doing the same kind of thing, just playing around here, trying to find lines to get forward. We ride on board with Cooper Webster. Webster's got a little bit of a run here onto the back of Oster. Yellow in the air.
And it's Velociotis hard in the wall. Exit turn 2, spinning like a top on the back straightaway. Solo car incident, yellow flag out again. Inside 10 laps to go. And the heart rate can settle down for a quick second for Van de Sande, Russell, Veyron, and the rest of the occupying top 5. Yellow flag out crucially in this final end of the race. And it's Velociotis who was under fire from some of the red line cars. He just got passed around by Gustavo Ariel right before the contact. And it's the Frenchman Florian Lebigre, DJ, that ends up creating the contact. And it's the same trouble spot. We've seen all these crashes happen right at the exit of turn 2.
I mean, I can think back. I'll let you in on a little secret. My seats are on the exit of turn 1, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen drivers make a mistake coming through 2, and we've been able to catch it and see that same impact point. Here comes the replay. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. There you can see that battle with red line in front and red line behind. Starts to get a little bit of a run side by side. Coming in there is never a good idea. Oh, double hit there, and that is pretty squarely, as there's another hit just for better measure. That is not Billy Osto's fault by any stretch of the imagination. He was a passenger on that one.
And it's the third incident tonight to which we've seen a red line car on the inside attempting a move. And this time it was Lebigra who made the effort. Beliziotis nearly shut down, thinking he was clear, then washed up a tiny bit. Josh Thompson was on the inside in the train with two of the Hungarian drivers for Sheza Esports, David Toth, Tamás Simon. They end up out of it without any damage, but the good news for them, they'll be able to continue. The bad news there for Beliziotis, whose race will come to an end here in this final sector. And it brings back the point I made right before one of our most recent restarts, DJ. We do not extend this race past lap 66. So there is going to be a specific point where a yellow flag can come out, and this race is going to end under yellow. So how much does that turn up any of the aggression? It's sort of the counterintuitive effect. Instead of drivers being more conservative, they'd be more aggressive because they know if there's a yellow that comes out, it'll be their last chance at a win tonight.
I think you're going to raise it up big time. As we take a look through the field, Alexander Russell is your leader right now. Started all the way back in 7th. He's having a great run here for Powerslide Motorsports up into 1st place. 2nd place, another Powerslide driver. Surprise, surprise, Alex Van de Sant. He's having a good run. We've seen these two trade back and forth all race long. And then here comes the exception. Elliot Veyron, Coanda Esports, the Parisian, trying to be able to break up this Powerslide party up at the front here, KP.
We go back to that finish last season, 3rd. That's where he sits right now. Philip Kraus, near in contention to win this race last season, won the iRacing Indy 500. He sits in 4th place, and he's got his teammates around him. Robert Malechka, the defending winner of this race in the Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series, back in 5th. Chance to still attack. It gets a little bit harder to move your way up to the field from here. Michele Costantini, who spent a majority of this race out in the front after a blistering qualifying effort, put him on the pole. He's back in 6th place. Jacob Osler, who was starting to make waves in the back half of the top 10, simmered down near the end of that run before the yellow. He runs in 7th with Cooper Webster, the first of the many red line entries in this field, all the way back in 8th. The big difference that has helped these oval teams succeed so much, where Redline is still trying to find their footing. And how about Pablo Espes has given so much of this run tonight, and very much a credit to the Spaniard after starting 16th. And at the edge of the top 10, there's your points leader. Will it be for much longer? That's a question to be answered later, but he's trying to hold on to the championship staple at the front, running 10th with a chance to still gain more before this race is over.
And I want to give credit to Luke here. I mean, he started in 9th position. He's running 10th. That is a very, very consistent run. And again, the mark of a champion. He's not losing position here. He's staying where he needs to be. But it looks like here that a lot of these red line drivers that we're seeing on the fringes of the top 5, they don't quite have the oomph to be able to get their way forward. We're seeing mistakes out of them. We're seeing contact out of them. It looks like they're putting themselves into a position where they're over pushing their Dallara IR18s. And I worry a little bit about maybe another yellow coming from that point in the field. Team Hype Powerslide, these guys up in the front, they look like they've got it together a little bit more, and they're able to keep a little bit calmer as opposed to where Team Redline is right now.
You've seen that dichotomy over the last few yellows, because now Eduardo Leo is out of this race. Josh Thompson with wheel damage is out of this race. You nearly had contact with Florian Lebigra. The red line cars, you want to have as many of them at the top of the championship as possible. How much does that hurt you when you continue to be right at the heart of these incidents? Now that we're in the middle of crunch time, where all these points are for gain, Team Hype and Powerslide are going to do all that they can to keep at least one car in the front to the checkered flag first. And with 6 laps to go, this will be the crossover point. At any point after, if a yellow comes out, this race is done under the caution flag. It's the rookie Alexander Russell for Powerslide Motorsports. He gets away late, keeps Van de Sant at bay. They run behind. Green flag with 6 laps to go from Indianapolis.
A little bit of a baby dragon move there for Russell. That weave down the front straightaway. But here comes the rest of the field. Too wide, farther back. You got to keep your eye on that. Again, you do not want another yellow.
Here come the eyes. Here come the moves. Van de Sant again down low. Does Veyron strike? Answer is yes. He looks under. Philip Kraus does as well. Russell has jumped. 3 versus 1 in the middle of turn 3. Russell will hold on for 2nd place. Veyron has to hold back the punch, and it's Van de Sant to 5 laps to go. Robert Malechka makes the move for 4th at the exit of the final corner.
Brilliant move from Malechka, but here we go. 3-4 wide down the front straightaway, and it's going to be Veyron trying to make the move down to the inside alongside Russell. Russell with an incredible defense late.
Trying to hold on. Veyron on the inside. You can't hit the rumble strip, so car will step out. Beautiful run from the outside from Van de Sande. He'll look under again. Now here comes the rest of the team. Malechka, 3 wide to the inside, and he's going to have the lead in turn 3. An unbelievable move at the exit of 4, and look at Costantini weave his way through the top 5. 4 to go.
Costantini, he's going to push ahead here. He's got a run on Van de Sande, but it is a pack of bees coming down the front straightaway. Here they go into 1 with 4 to go.
You don't want to make any mistakes, not here and not right now. Robert Malechka, for the first time all night long, is going to have the race lead with Philip Kraus behind him in tow. Michele Costantini, who has sent a bunch of this race at the front, is going to look for one final blow. He stays back. Russell and Van de Sande play the offense. Outside, 3 wide for the lead in turn 3 again. Malechka and Kraus will hold on. 3 laps to go from Indianapolis, and Robert Malechka several laps away from another Indianapolis win. But here comes Kraus and Van de Sande and Costantini. 3 wide for the lead again in turn 1.
Costantini's going to be able to get around 1. Is he going to be able to get around 2? Yes, he is. The Italian powers his way to the front. It's side by side with Russell and Malechka behind, with Kraus holding station in P4. Don't keep out Van de Sande, and Oster's been able to work his way. Here comes Cooper Webster as well.
Is there a breaking point at this time? Here comes Kraus again. Outside tally 3 wide. It's Gussie to make that call. On board at the very back. Look at the run from Van de Sande as he tries to get up to turn 4, and he's got red lines. Cooper Webster looking to have the Herculean effort end with a chance at a race victory. 2 laps to go, and it's 4 wide up at the front, all abreast in Indianapolis, and Michele Costantini takes the lead.
Malechka trying to run it high, wide, and handsome. Russell's going to hold it down to the inside. Kraus and Oster going side by side, farther back in the pack. And this is the point, KB, where you have got to think about positioning. I like the spot here if I'm Russell and Malechka. If they can sort themselves out, I'm not necessarily opposed to being Oster or Kraus either.
Don't look now. Jacob Oster, that green and white Dallara IR18 has a chance to win this race from the high lane. Robert Malechka trying to play Indy defense, and it's Costantini, the Italian, looking to get his first win of the season. Once again, it's 3 wide. White flag in the air from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's the rookie back in front. Russell holding on to the wall. Malechka playing the offense. Exit turn 2 is where this is going to get fun. Oster to the bottom. Michele Costantini back in third. Snake trailing down the back straightaway. How wide do they get? 3 wide behind them. It's Malechka playing the offense. Once more, Costantini makes a dart down low, and this is going to come down to the yard of brakes for the final time. Malechka high, wide, and handsome. Alexander Russell will lead him off 4. Will it be enough? Drag race. 3 wide to the yard of brakes, and by a hair, it's the Italian. Say hello to a new winner in 2026. Michele Costantini takes the crown at the Brickyard.
Oh my goodness gracious, Kenneth. That was Indy at its finest. And incredible stuff there from Costantini. I thought for sure when he lost that position coming down the back straightaway, he was out of it, but stuck in there, made it work, and got the double draft coming down the short chute to make it play. Incredible stuff from the Italian.
You get the question asked, where do you want to be on the white flag lap? Michele Costantini puts it in the bank and says, third. I want to be right there. I want to be with a chance to draft on the front straightaway to win, and it's 3 wide, and by 19/100ths of a second, Michele Costantini gets his 2nd career Thrustmaster iRacing INDYCAR Pro Series win. Both of them coming on the ovals, but this one, DJ, means so much.
It's Indy, baby. I mean, to quote Al Unser Jr., you just don't understand what Indy means. This is the most coveted race win in any series ever. this is where you want to do it. And especially for somebody like Michele, who is such a familiar partner with this Dallara IR18, this has got to feel special. You could see his excitement. You could see his jubilation. And you can barely see him now through all the smoke.
Last season, Costantini had to deal with a gauntlet. Bad luck, poor finishes kept him out of the championship fight, and he rallied through, won the race from the pole at Milwaukee, and kept himself up high, his head up high as well. This time, in race 3, it's his second career dub by 19/100ths of a second, and the credit to everyone in this top 5 gave us absolute cinema. Hands in the air, Alex Russell with his best career finish in second. Robert Malechka, in his attempt to defend his Indy crown, does not get it done. He's back in third with Philip Kraus in fourth, but the overarching story, all of the Team Hype and Powerslide teammates finishing in the top 10, most of them able to take hold of what could be the championship domination as we push halfway through. Cooper Webster for Redline ends up at the top 5. Elliot Veyron, another top 10 at Indianapolis in 6th. Oster, Van de Sant, Luke McEwen recovers for a top 9, and Pablo Espes, the top 10.
Diego Pinto for Redline was 11th, followed by Alessandro Bico and Matteo Kunzer, both for Williams. Then we had Team Redline's Florian Labigra in P14, Gustavo Ariel in P15. David Toth was 16th, followed by Tomas Shimon in 17th. Josh Thompson, Mikel Romanides falling down through the order there. We thought he had a chance to be able to come in very high in points early on, couldn't make it play, and Alex Betts rounds out your top 20.
21st, Balint Pala in the 15. Sam Quaitert, 22nd. Peter Berryman, 23rd. Didn't see much from him, unfortunately, tonight. Nicolas Mateo ends up 24th. Esteban Rodriguez in 25th. And that starts all of those cars that are a lap down or more in this race. Vasilio Speliziotis, the 7 machine, ends up crash late in the race. 27th, Kwame Scott, Eduardo Leo, Jaden Munoz among those that crashed heavy around the end of the race. Sotamuto, Dan Amor, and Adam Blocker end up as the finalized drivers in this 33-car field from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's head to IMS Victory Lane, and DJ Clark, you've got a very happy Michele Costantini, second career Thrustmaster INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series win.
Michele victory here at Indianapolis. I want to go back to the white flag lap. You fell behind a little bit. What are your emotions on that last run?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I didn't. One sec. I knew I didn't have to be like in the first two or three spots. Third is very marginal. But yeah, I just had the perfect run out of 3. The race up ahead was great. I mean, I trust each and every single one of those guys that I was racing there on the last lap to put on a great show, and we did so cleanly as well. So I'm super happy about this race.
Any fear, any concerns that you had? I mean, you fell back a little bit in the order with this shuffle around the yellow flag periods. Did you ever think you were out of this?
I don't think I ever thought I was gonna be out of the chance to win, but I mean, honestly, with how the first couple of races went, I would have been happy with any top 5 result, really. Yeah, but I just lined it up perfectly, and it worked out in the end, so really happy about that.
Let's talk about the rest of the season. Obviously, a trip over to your neck of the woods next time out at Mugello. How do you feel about the rest of the season? Is this maybe a springboard for you to get in that championship conversation?
Hopefully, I mean, Mugello is a great track, home race as well for me and a couple of the other guys in the series. So I'm sure it's gonna be a lot of fun. Really like the track, so I'm gonna try and do great there. I mean, as you said, a win is super important for the points in the championship with this points system. So the win here was huge, really. So just trying to try and be a little bit more consistent, try to stay a little bit more out of trouble on other races, and should be good for the rest of the championship.
Well, Michele, we wish you luck in the rest of the championship. Go off and celebrate, my friend. Victory at Indianapolis.
Thank you very much.
That was Michele Costantini, and it sounds like here, Kenneth, we're going to have a few more people coming on in. First and foremost, the rookie, Alexander Russell. My goodness, have you been able to pry your fingers off of the steering wheel on those last couple of laps at this point?
Wow. I don't know what to say. It's incredible to get this result. Road courses aren't my strong suit, so it's just, I had a whole plan in my head of what I wanted to do, and in my head I thought, okay, I know what to do, I just got to execute, and I think I can go win this, but just coming up short. 19,000, man.
I mean, is that a disappointment for you? Obviously you want to win, I understand that, but is that a disappointment? Is that something that you're able to carry on into the rest of the season as a little bit of a buoy, especially looking ahead to Phoenix and Nashville?
Yeah, I really wanted to win. Like, it was something where, coming from INDYCAR, the Coca-Cola iRacing series, representing Tony Kanaan, there's no better pride than winning at Indy. So I had this race circled, I practiced a lot. It hurts coming up short, but definitely gives confidence going into Phoenix and Nashville.
Well, let's look ahead to the rest of the season outside of those. Running here for Power Slide, you've got a great team behind you. What does this portend for the rest of the season? Are you going to be able to make a little bit of a challenge on some of these guys?
The goal is just get better at road courses, because I feel like the oval pace is there, so just slowly build on road courses, build on the qualifying effort. We had a good one today, so just keep being consistent, keep the pedal to the metal, and you know, goals always make the series again, but hopefully we can aim higher.
I think with a run like that here today, Alexander, you're going to be just fine, my friend. Thank you so much. Congratulations on a second place at Indy.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that's Alexander Russell, and now we are ready to move over to Cooper Webster. Cooper, what a run. What a last couple of laps. I can see you're sweating, but how stressful was that?
Ridiculously stressful because, oh, hang on, I can hear myself. Anyways, yeah, it was ridiculously stressful. It's weird to have a race where the racing is more stressful than qualifying. Normally I'm used to qualifying being stupidly stressful, but hanging on at the start was difficult, and then we were kind of hoping that it would just go cautions to the end because we didn't think we could move forward, but I was able to move forward once the field spread out, and then I just went to the inside every single time I had an opportunity, and it was the right call.
Were you surprised at all by the number of drivers that were kind of making that outside lane work? Did you have any thought of going out there at all? Or, I mean, you made it work to the inside, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the outside was really good at the first half of the race while everyone was single file, and I think maybe some people still thought that they could keep that momentum, but I mean, in our testing, it was just better to kind of, when everyone spread out, to be on the inside, and I was always getting net coded with my internet, so it was too risky being on the outside. Whenever I got a run, I just drove to the inside, and it worked out really good. So I'm stoked. Last year was abysmal, and I'm happy with that.
Well, I'm going to turn the same question that I just sent over to your other fellow drivers. What does this portend for the rest of the season? Is this a good momentum builder for you going into the likes of Magellan and then the other ovals?
Yeah, I think it's positive for the rest of the other ovals. I mean, I had a power cut on the first race, the first round at Long Beach, 10 minutes before the race because there was bushfires. So I missed that round, and then the next round I had a good quali, but had a small incident start and lost my front wing. So just like that, and then the small mistake on the Victor has made it difficult. But I mean, that result has saved me. So I was assuming that I was going to have another difficult one. Because everyone's so competitive on the ovals, and we're not used to the ovals. So, it's positive. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
We're looking forward to seeing you out there, Cooper. Best of luck to you, and we'll see you in a week in Magellan.
Thank you very much.
All right, KB, that was Cooper Webster, and that is your finishers here from what was an insanely great run here at Indy.
Hard way to describe things when a finish ends up like that, 3 wide at the line. Here's where the point standings shake out after this Indianapolis race, and it's Michele Costantini who surges up the leaderboard, now just 10 points back of Luke McEwen. And you got to give credit to McEwen as well. Despite the fact that he was back in the top 15 most of this race, he put himself up front when it mattered, most 9th at the end, so he sort of gets away from any sort of advantage those drivers at the bottom will have. But still, 10 points, 14 back to Romanidis, and Philip Kraus makes the huge jump. He was 11th when we started this race tonight. He's up 7 spots to 4th in the top 5. Now that we're getting into the bread and butter of this 2026 season. And as we move forward, 2 of the next 3 are oval tracks, but you got to get through the road course in Europe first. Mugello welcomes its way into the schedule for this year. It's one of the newest additions to the campaign alongside Portland and Phoenix. So this one, as we go overseas, DJ, will be hometown racing for many of the drivers in this series, and another unique challenge.
Yeah, you saw the kind of smirk there when I talked to Michele about racing at Mugello. He was very excited about it. So I think it's going to be a great run. This place always produces fantastic racing action, especially in these IR18s. You're going to see a lot of interesting lines around these corners, and I think it's going to produce one heck of a race.
We had ideas coming into this 2026 season about how the championship would look after 3 races. Safe to say when Arjuna come back next week, we're going to have the news breaking to him. This championship is still as much as open as it's ever been when this race started here in Indianapolis tonight. What a race it was, and it is Michele Costantini by 19 one-thousandths of a second, grabbing the win 3 wide at the stripe. It never gets better than that. A huge thank you to you for watching all of our coverage this season and tonight from Indianapolis on the iRacing Esports Network and our IndyCars platforms. And on behalf of the wonderful crew here at iRacing, for Cisco Sierra-Musa, Sean Ambrose, and the entire wonderful crew, and for my great colleague in the booth tonight, DJ Clark, I'm Kenneth Bueno saying so long from the Brickyard, and a congratulations to Michele Costantini for his 2nd career IndyCar Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series win.